Go. All right. Good morning. My name is Heather Kelley, and I serve as the Deputy Director for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Future of Nursing Scholars. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of what's current with our program, and I'll also share a little bit with you about some of the other RWJF programs that are currently up and running. All of you have seen this slide before, the Future Nursing Report, still the #1 most downloaded report on the Institute of Medicine website, which is pretty amazing. I included here just because I wanted to share with you that our program was really inspired by two of the recommendations in particular that were in that report. The first, of course, is to double the number of nurses with a doctorate by 2020, and the second is to provide opportunities for nurses to assume leadership positions and serve as full partners in healthcare redesign and improvement efforts. But since that time, we've seen a really incredible growth in DNP enrollment. As you can see here, it's up 160%, which is amazing. And we've seen a little bit of growth on the PhD, but not very much. And there's two things that I would say about that. The first is that RWJF has a tendency to put the money where the needle needs to be moved. So the DNP is really climbing on its own. I've gotten a lot of questions about why does this program not support the DNP, and it's not that we're not supportive of it in general, but it is moving on its own, and the PhD is where it needs a little bit of help. But the second point that I would make about that is with the nurse faculty shortage imminent, we're really in a critical need of more PhD prepared nurses. So that's where this program is focused. With that in mind, the Future Nursing Scholars goal is to create a large and diverse cadre of PhD-prepared nurses who are committed to long-term leadership careers in nursing, education, administration, research, and policy. We have several of our scholars here. Why don't you raise your hands? I see you back there. Thank you. We have several of our scholars here, and many of whom are presenting, so if you get a chance to talk with them, I hope you will. This is our leadership model, and this is sort of our guiding principle. We reflect back on this from time to time when we're planning, because not only do we provide money to our scholars, but we also provide leadership development activities, and this model sort of guides us. It's a challenging program. I've gotten up here before and said if any of you want to meet me after and debate the merits of a 3-year PhD program, I would be happy to have that conversation. But this program does require that the students complete in 3 years. So there's a reason that they look tired. But they're doing it. In our first cohort, it was a small group. We had 16 scholars in 14 schools, and all of them are on point to graduate and finish by June 30th of this year. So that's really very exciting. In cohort 2, we have 24 schools with 43 scholars. Cohort 3 just started in the fall. We have 50 scholars in 31 schools. And cohort 4 will be starting this fall with 51 scholars. We will probably bring on about another 50 or so in cohort 5 with the idea that, again, 200 scholars coming through this program. And some of the things that we've talked about is, can they really do it in 3 years? And yes, it's hard, but they can. But can they do it in 3 years and be outstanding? And yes, they can. So we're seeing a lot of movement from our scholars, a lot of presentations, papers, other grant opportunities. So they really are accomplishing quite a lot. I wanted to share this with you because this really shows you how we're doing state to state. And in the South, we are doing pretty well. The first cohort, like I say, was small, but since moving into the larger cohorts, we have seen a large number of applications from the southern states. And this shows you the number of schools and scholars in the SNRS states. So we're hoping that with our 5th and final cohort coming up, that we'll increase that number even more. The deadline for that went by itself. The call for proposals for that will come out this summer, and the applications will be due in mid-September. This is going to be the last time. So if you haven't applied before and you want to apply, this is the time to do it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So it's a little bit tricky because it's not the scholars that apply to our program, it's the schools. So when the schools are submitting their application, they have to show us evidence that they can graduate PhD students in 3 years. That doesn't mean you have to have already done it. It just means that you have to show that you will be able to make some adjustments to your existing program to accommodate that. It also doesn't mean you have to change your entire program to 3 years. We've had a lot of questions around that. It just means that you're willing to offer that as a track. We want to see examples of your mentoring activities and evidence of interdisciplinary engagement, the faculty and student diversity, and we also want to compare the trajectory for your PhD students and look at your statistics on graduations. So those are all the items that would be in the call for proposals. We also really want to get a sense, our reviewers want to get a sense that you understand and accept the challenge of the 3 years. That's the biggest piece of this for us. The scholars have to also be committed to this. So once you're selected, you want to be really having this conversation with your incoming class about who are going to be the best fits for this program. It's not the right fit for everybody. So square pegs, circle holes, and that kind of thing. They have to really be focused on doing this, and they have to be willing to just put their heads down and do it, and it is tough. It is tough. I also, since we are coming up to kind of a new phase of our program, I wanted to share a little bit about our postdoc opportunities. Now, this would only be available to the scholars who have gone through the program, but many of you have schools and scholars in the program. So these are the competitive postdoc options that our program offers, and the scholars apply. It would go right after the end of their PhD. And there's 3 options that they could consider. The first one is the NINR RWJF partnership, and that one is a great opportunity for the right fit. It would require the student to go to the NINR and do their postdoc there, so they would have to have a research mentor there that was in line with their work. The second option is a traditional postdoc at a university. You could offset T32, you could have other funding mechanisms, or not, but in most cases you would want to do that. And then option 3, we're calling the investigator-initiated award, and that's where a scholar can craft a different type of opportunity with another organization possibly and pitch it to us in their application. So I want to show you that's the wrong button. I want to show you the timeline for it. So this shows what we think we would do each year. So this would apply to the students in cohort 2. Our scholars in cohort 1 have just applied. The review process is completing now. So the scholars would be contacting appropriate mentors and organizations, getting all of their plans together. The application site would open in September with applications due in December. And then if they were doing the NIH option, there would be an in-person interview, and then the reviews would be completed by the end of February. And then the situation we have with the 3 years, a lot of people have questions about what does 3 years really mean. So it's by June 30th of your final academic year. We don't mean they have to have walked by that point, but they have to have their dissertation finished, no more revisions, all the paperwork filed with their university, so that in theory by July 1st, they could start a postdoc if they had one ready. It could also start a little bit later, depending upon what they were doing. I also wanted to share with you a little bit more about RWJF's other leadership programs, and I will apologize to you because I will not really be able to answer questions about them, but I did want to give you some details since I'm the lone RWJF rep. The first one is the Diversity in Health Policy Research Program, and that one is based at Johns Hopkins. The program's goals is to support doctoral students from underrepresented and or disadvantaged populations by providing training in health policy, health equity, and population health. The second one, the Interdisciplinary Research Leaders, is based at the University of Minnesota, and that program will develop groups of networked researchers and community members who apply as a team and are dedicated to producing evidence needed to move the U.S. towards the culture of health. The Multi-Sector Leaders for Health is based with the National Collaborative for Health Equity, a project of the New Venture Fund in Washington. And this program will develop a diverse group of leaders representing key sectors influencing health and help them grow their influence to the next level to build a culture of health. You're probably sensing a theme with the culture of health. And then the new Clinical Scholars Program is based at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and this program will develop cohorts of networked clinicians who have attained a terminal clinical degree and who have the competencies to lead transformative change in communities to build a culture of health. So that is going to be part of everything that you see with RWJF moving forward. They also have some other opportunities available related to the culture of health portfolio or program, and I would say that the best way to find out more about all of those opportunities is to check the RWJF website. So the How We Work thing, how we work grants, funding opportunities, will give information about upcoming calls for proposals, but it will also give you information about if you were to submit something apart from a program, how would that work? And then if you have additional questions for me, my information is up there. I would love the opportunity to discuss the Future Nursing Scholars Program with you. Like I said, there's one more round, so the time is now if you're interested in applying, and my information's up there, and I'd love to take your questions at the end. Thank you.